That's a hard question. I can't really answer that. I bought a duplex when I got into real estate in 2011. So there's so many people that talk about mailbox money and passive income. And I think that there's a lot of work that goes into it. Do I love it every day? Absolutely not. What I do like about it is the future gains. Knowing that it's going to appreciate, knowing that I'm going to have a renter in there that's going to be paying that mortgage payment, paying it off for me. Did you push the button? They didn't necessarily know I was the last guest till now, so that makes me sad.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Hello, Delton.
Hey, Taylor.
Delton, you've been in real estate a long time. I saw you count on your fingers earlier.
Okay, well, 14 years. 2011.
And when did you do your first investment?
That's a hard question. I can't really answer that. I bought a duplex when I got into real estate in 2011.
As a primary.
As my primary. And I held on to that until about 15 and I sold it. My first one that I still have today, I bought in 2014. It was my second primary residence that I turned into a rental. And it's the best rental I have right now.
What do you like about the investment side of real estate? What draws you to?
I think that if you're looking at it, so there's so many people that talk about mailbox money and passive income. And I think that there's a lot of work that goes into it. Do I love it every day? Absolutely not. What I do like about it is the future gains, knowing that it's going to appreciate, knowing that I'm going to have a renter in there that's going to be paying that mortgage payment and paying it off for me. But currently, it's like sitting in it today, there's a lot of days it's just not a lot of fun, to be real and honest.
That's good. So would you say that the biggest misconception is that real estate investing is complete passes? Mailbox money.
I think that is the largest. So I think that's why people get in. I think that's why people enter it and exit it so fast, is because they sit there and they're like, man, like I'm going to have to go scope sewer lines, or I'm going to have to go fix this or do that. I have tenants that aren't paying me. I have tenants that are wrecking the place. And I think,
no. Can we just
pump the brakes? So you probably are talking. So I bought 10 houses in Okemah. And I think and I don't know if it was a mistake yet or not. I haven't been able to exit the houses like I thought I was going to be able to exit them. So we're seeing how that's going to play out. And it could very well be, but I bought 10 houses with I did not take in consideration I don't really know how to say it. So I think the biggest challenge that I had that I really didn't expect was how difficult it went from having 5 houses to having 15 houses. It's just like all of a sudden.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, and this is a little different question. Do you think that you'd feel that way if all of those houses were where your other house?
I think that it would make a pretty big impact. So if Okemah is an hour away from me, so you can't just go there and check every day, or go there and do something, or go there and talk to somebody every day. The travel expense is quite a bit more expensive than I took in consideration whenever I was buying that deal as well.
Hindsight being 2020, I don't have an exited this deal yet, and you may still end up making a profit on it. Would you do it again?
Because I'm glutton for punishment, I would. I've learned a ton doing this thing. I learned that I'll probably never do it again. I've learned that there's some small town politics, but I would have never learned the lesson if I wouldn't have gone through it. I think you even told me, hey, I bought a package deal in a small town, but until I walked through it, until I did this, I would have never had the opportunity to learn the lesson.
So to clarify, you wouldn't do it again, but you don't regret having done it because you learned. Okay.
Correct, yeah. Did I say that wrong?
I was like, do you regret it? And you're like, no.
I don't regret it.
Would you do it again? Yeah. What?
Yeah. I would do it again for the first time.
What?
I'd probably do it again.
So,
it depends. I don't know.
Okay. So wait, what does it depend on? I'm genuinely like, let's go inside mine.
I'm a sucker for a deal. If I found a deal, I'd figure out a way to make it work. I would love to do it closer to my hometown, towards the Weatherford Thomas area, because I have a community out there that could help me out from time to time. Another thing that I assumed I would find is somebody that would be able to manage these properties for me. I haven't been able to find that in Okemah in particular. If the right deal came along, there's a good chance I would.
I don't want that headache. I like to invest locally. However, there's a lot of investors who either don't pound that option because they're not in a place like Oklahoma where the numbers make sense. Well, Susie worked with an investor from New Jersey. It doesn't make sense for him to be investing in New Jersey because there's just not that same return on investment that he's bought 30 houses here in Oklahoma. And so there are absolutely things that here's what I love about this conversation. There are opportunities everywhere, right? There are opportunities in Okemah. There are opportunities in these small towns, and there's opportunities in your backyard. It depends on what pain you want, right? What were some of the most unique challenges that you found in doing investing in a small?
The one thing that I did not even consider was small town politics. You have people that will just genuinely just not like you because you're not from there, or give you challenges in that way.
So not finding a property management. So if you were to do it again, opportunity came up in a small town, what would be some of the things that you would look into first before you make that decision?
It would have to be at a very strong discount. It would have to be one of those no-brainers that I could just not buy it. Like that would be the only way that I would probably go ahead and put myself back through this whole situation, to where it was such a stupid deal that it's okay, you're making me buy this deal. Because I would take into a lot more items into consideration, such as it's probably going to be harder to find renters, or trying to find somebody to get in there and do work whenever I can't get there every day or whatever. Just the little things.
Someone who owns a home, they're not really looking to move. They would be interested in investing. They don't have a whole lot of money to invest, but that is something that they want to do. What would your advice be?
Okay, say that again.
The person out there is interested in investing. What would your advice be? Where to start?
Okay, first time investor, maybe they own a house, but they want to get into investing. Is that what the question, that's what you're asking? Or a primary residence?
Biggest difference is with primary residence loan. You have to live in there for 12 months as your primary residence. Yeah. And because you're doing that, you get a lower down payment and a lower interest.
Yeah, you can enter into that. So you could go. So if you already own a property, and I know everybody's, they may love that home, or everybody's situation is unique. But if you've been in it for longer than 12 months, then you can go buy another primary property with as little as 3.5% to 5% down, and get a better interest rate. Whereas if you go strictly into an investment property, you're going to put down 20%.
So someone is in a position where they can actually do that, because oftentimes, hey, if you got a spouse that needs to be on board with that decision, if you're living in it
right.
For a while. So someone's in that position, what advice would you give them if they are actually willing to go buy a primary residence for the purpose of turning it into a rental property in the future? What would you tell them to buy?
So that conversation becomes really different. And I feel like it also becomes easier because you don't have to love the house. This isn't a forever home. This is a investment property. So you want to look at things that may not matter as much to you as it would a renter. So like maybe you need to be closer to public transportation, or gyms, or walkability may come into play, where as a property owner, you might primarily be looking at position to your job. Or is this house, like you could even, so if you intend on turning it into an investment property, the size of the house doesn't even matter. It needs to work right now, but it doesn't necessarily need to work forever. You can grow out of that house. In other words, it doesn't have to be as perfect. And I think oftentimes whenever you're looking for a house, it's going to be your primary house. You have a different set of boxes to check.
So your advice would be, hey, you're looking at this as a 12 to 24 month stay.
Right.
What can you sacrifice during this stay? But at the end, we're looking at it as a rental. We'll look at the numbers on the rental side, make sure it makes sense as a long-term hold, rather than checking some of the want boxes of your forever home.
Yeah.
Would you advise multifamily?
If you can make that work for your family, absolutely. I think it's a great way to. So you're asking a big question. Some people love multifamily. Some people love single family homes. There's pros and cons to both of them. With a multifamily unit, say you go out and you can buy up to a fourplex. If you buy a fourplex, so if you go buy one of those, you can have 3 different units paying that mortgage payment. So oftentimes you can step up instead of maybe you qualify for a $250,000 house. With multifamily, because you can use some of those incomes, you might be able to qualify for 500,000 or 600,000. That's one thing. But then all those other units also help pay your mortgage. So I guess to make this really fast, the biggest pros and cons to buying multifamily versus a single family house. Multifamily, and I just had this conversation with my sister, somebody moves out of a fourplex, you still have 2, you're still living in one, you still have 2 rented out. It does not hurt you as bad as if you have a single family house, somebody moves out. That whole income is lost until you get somebody else back in there, although it probably comes at a higher price tag.
And the inconvenience of living in an attached unit for the 12 or 20.
The biggest con, I feel like, and I guess the biggest conversation I always have with myself whenever I'm looking at multifamily units, which I'm actually searching for a quad, if anybody knows of anything that's coming on the market. I need it. That's the one thing that's slowing me down, so I don't have an agent. So the one thing I look at on that is the appreciation of a multifamily house is directly correlated with how much rent you can get out of that unit. So, for example, if every unit rents for $1,000, your thing's probably going to be worth about $400,000 to $500,000 in today's market. And then if you can bump the rents up to $1,500, now you can make that thing appraise into the 600s. Single family house, you have more exit strategies, and they tend to appreciate faster. Their appreciation is not tied to what it could rent for, if that makes sense. So a single family is going to appreciate typically a lot quicker than a multifamily will.
And historically, single families were always easier to sell. What's really interesting right now is there's a lot of investors looking for multifamily, and there's actually buyers that are looking for a similar setup. Now there's almost no multi. Last I checked in Norman, there were exactly 3.
Yeah, there's not much right now.
3 very overpriced. Anything else on the investor front that you'd love to talk about?
So right now, interest rates are making it a struggle to cash flow. So what I'm seeing, if I'm talking to the big players or people with cash, what it seems like what they're doing right now is keeping their money primarily risk-free in the bank and collecting interest on their money. So I have a feeling that so there's a lot of people that aren't necessarily buying investment properties right now, because with an investment property, you have more risk than it just sitting in the bank making money. What I would expect to see is rates drop just a little bit to where it starts making more sense to pull the money out of the bank and start going back into the investment world again. It's going to open the floodgates again.
And at the same time, that also makes it people who leverage a lot of money from the bank be able to have the ability to cash flow again. At the same time, all of the sellers are going to be looking at potentially buying something else because interest rates have come down and it makes more sense for them to move. So if interest rates drop, what do you see the sales prices?
There. So we see it every time. So every time rates drop, the sales price is going to go up. But it may make it to where you can start cash flowing houses again. And once that happens, then prices are going to go back up. And that's what I would expect to see.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Great to be here.
That was very concise.
Was it?